Hello students, welcome to this video where I'm going to go over the first computer assignment for Math 240 Introduction to Statistics. So you should have the instructions, a PDF instructions, and then the Excel file that you're going to work on here. So first thing it says is to just enter your name. First and last name would be great, and you'll notice that every time you press a button or press delete in this case, these numbers are changing. Same thing with the other sheet here. So make sure you are in the restaurant sheet. What we're going to do is just copy, highlight the data, press copy, and then click on paste special, click on values. That will ensure that the data no longer changes. As we go through here, press various buttons, none of the data is changing. So on the assignment, it asks us to create a column graph and a pie chart for this data. So I'm going to show you how to do some graphing here. Highlight the data, insert, up there is a column graph. We're just going to pick a nice 2D example. And there is our graph of your data. Now your graphs are going to look different because your numbers are going to be different. So if you click on the chart title, just left click right on that, or right click. We're just going to change the name. Click on it once and start typing. You can just type in restaurants. You'll notice that it goes into the formula bar, not into the chart title space until you press enter. And there it is. Add data labels to the column. If you right click on the column, all the columns are selected, and we could click on add data labels. And there are the numbers. Makes it a little easier to read the graph. Creating a pie chart is also useful. Highlight the data, insert pie chart. And there we go. That's what the pie chart is going to look like. It's going to look messy until we make some changes to it. So again, add a title. We can call this Restaurants. What we want to do, because once even this is really busy and the colors are kind of different, that if you look at the legend, you might not be able to tell the difference between blue for McDonald's, A&W, or Popeyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to format the data label. So right click on the actual circle, add data labels. Then we'll go back here and right click and format data labels. This one will pop up. We want the category name, we want the value, we want to click on show leader lines, and I'll go over what that means, and then we want outside end, and then we can just close that. Once this is here, we don't need this legend, so if you just right click, delete, makes the graph a little bit bigger. The leader line is if we drag these legends away, it's going to be connected. So we can drag these away if we want. Oops. And they will be connected by that leader line. Makes it a little easier to read. Now, let's see, we have remove the legend, add appropriate title, drag one of the restaurant pie sections away from the rest. So we can take perhaps let's look at the Dairy Queen pie section. So click twice, double click on it, and just drag it away. Looks like a little Pac-Man eating a little bit of ice cream. Okay, that's how we make two basic charts. Now let's go into step 6 here. It says in the IQ chart. Here's a bunch of IQ, or a bunch of numbers. Let's just imagine that they are IQ values. IQ of various individuals. For simplicity's sake, what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to right click on these middle columns here and just hide them. The values are still there. So count uses, the function is just count. Bracket and then highlight all the data. You get the count. Max, same thing, equals max. Highlight all the data. Oops, I forgot to tell you, our data is changing. Look, every time I press delete off to the side, the max changes. So we have to go through here, highlight, right click copy, and right click paste special values. And now these values do not change. So we can do the same thing with min. And everyone's going to get different values. So those are the three functions, count, max, and min. When we want to enter the range is a formula. In Excel, our formulas start with an equal sign. So you go equals, don't type in 143 minus 57. What you want to do is go equals, click on the value of 143, minus, click on the value for the min, 57, and there is the range. We can do the same thing for OOC and OCW here. Remember the formula for the optimal number of classes. It's 1 plus 3.33 times log of the count. In brackets, that cell that has the count value in it, and we will get 8.51. You may get a slightly different value because of rounding. I'm not sure how it's set up in your system, but basically those are all the decimal places. It doesn't matter how many are showing because once again the Sturgis method gives us a good estimate. So the OCW, the optimal class width, is the range divided by that OOC number, and our range is going to be, or optimal class width is 10.1. So regardless of what your class width is, it's going to be something close to 10. We are going to use a class width of 10. So down in step 7, we're going to go to this data table that I've started. Here's the classes. It says the first class to be, where does it say the first class? Yeah, classes have just been created. The first class is going to be less than 70, 70 to under 80, 80 to under 90, and so forth. The last class being 130 and more. So in Excel, we have these numbers here. These are bin numbers. This is only for Excel, because the next process in creating a data table is to have this absolute frequency, which we're not going to calculate. We're going to have Excel do all this hard lifting for us. But that's the next step, is to go through all the data and find exactly how many are less than 70. For example, there could be 7. And that's based on the data we have over here. That's what we would do on paper, but we're going to have Excel do all this hard stuff for us. For Excel to do this, we need these numbers in yellow. The bin number, by definition, is the largest number that goes in the classes. So when it says less than 70, it means all the way up to 69, but not 70 or more. When it says 70 to 80, it's basically the largest number that'll go in that class is 79. So once again, the numbers in yellow, just for Excel purposes. Now, one thing you'll have to do in your Excel program is add in the tool that we're going to use to do all of this, to create our data table. We'll make this a little bigger here. So go File, Options, click on Add-ins, wait a minute, click on Go, and make sure that first one is checked. Just the Analysis Tool Pack. Make sure there's a check mark there, press OK. What that'll do is under the Data tab at the top, we'll have this Data Analysis tool. Now, if you're using a Mac computer or any other Apple computer, I believe there's an Options menu along the top that you're going to find the same type of data analysis tool. So we click on Data Analysis, and we go into Histogram. The input range, all the green numbers. The bin range, let's move this over, are going to be all those bin numbers that Excel needs. We're going to include the label. We're going to make sure we check on labels there. It's going to give us output in a new worksheet. And make sure you double click or click on the bottom left that chart output. And click OK. It creates a nice little data table for us. Make this a little smaller here. Okay, one thing we've got to do to make this a little cleaner, Excel will always add an extra row. See, more, and it's 0, and down in the graph there's more with nothing there. So what I want you to do is right-click on row 10 and delete. And now it's gone from the graph. So a couple things to make this a little neater is we can right-click on one of the columns, format data series, and reduce that gap width to 0 and close that. Now it's all there. We can delete that frequency. We can go back to that IQ tab and copy our classes and put them right here. Oops. And paste there. Make that a little bigger, and you can see that we have the classes right underneath our histogram. Okay, let's keep going down here. We can add data labels. There they are. Percent frequency is basically going to be this value divided by the total of 180. So you can go 5 divided by 180, and we can, under the Home tab, make it a percent. There it is. Don't worry about decimal places. What I want to do next is go back to that IQ tab and calculate the mean, median, standard deviation. So the mean is the average function equals average, highlight all your data. Oops. The median is just the median function equals median, highlight all your data. Standard deviation is STDEVP, bracket, highlight all your data. So instead of doing the standard deviation on paper, we can do it right there. We can do percentiles equals percentile, bracket, highlight all your data, and then go comma 0.25 because we're asking for the 25th percentile. We can do the same thing for the 75th percentile, comma 0.75. Oops. Bracket going the other way. IQR is the difference between those two percentiles. There we go. And finally, we want to calculate maximum and minimum outliers. Remember, the process is we multiply the IQR by 1.5, and then we add that to the 75th percentile, and we subtract it from the 25th percentile. So basically any value outside of this range will be considered an outlier. Our maximum value is 143, which means that we have an outlier. The minimum value we have is 57, which is within this range, just slightly more than the minimum outlier. So we would have at least one outlier. Because our maximum value is 143, we know we have at least one outlier. There could be more. There could be a 142 value, and there could be perhaps those two values repeated. So that's how we find the outlier. And that is a very quick overview of some of the key things you want to take from our first unit and apply it into Excel.